Book of Heaven, Volume 25, March 22nd, 1929. In his works, God makes use of human means. How, in creation, the divine will had the field of action constituting itself life of everything. How the divinity acts only as concurrent and spectator. I feel my poor mind as though fixed in the divine volition, and I was thinking to myself, how can his kingdom ever come upon earth? And besides, how can it come if it is not known? But while I was thinking about this, my always lovable Jesus, coming out of my interior, told me,
"My daughter, in my works, I make use of human means, though I do the first part, the foundation and all the substance of the work that I want to do, and then I make use of creatures so that my work may be known and have life in the midst of creatures. So I did in redemption. I made use of the apostles in order to make it known, to propagate it, and to receive and give the fruits of redemption. And if the apostles had not wanted to say anything of what I said and did in coming upon earth, and closed in their muteness, had taken not one step, nor made one sacrifice, nor laid down their lives in order to make known the great good of my coming upon earth, they would have caused my redemption to die upon its rising. And the generations would have remained without the gospel, the sacraments, and all the goods which my redemption did and will do. This was my purpose. As in the last years of my life down here, I called the apostles around me, to make use of them as the proclaimers of what I had done and said. Oh, if the apostles had remained silent, they would have been responsible for the loss of so many souls if they had not known the good of redemption. Responsible for so much good not done by creatures. But because they did not remain silent and they laid down their lives, they can be called, after me, authors and cause of so many souls being saved, and of all the goods that have been done in my church, forming, as the first proclaimers, her unshakable pillars. It is our usual divine way that first we do our first act in our works. We place everything that is needed, and then we entrust them to creatures, giving them sufficient graces so that they may continue what we have done. And therefore our works become known according to the interest and the good will that creatures have. So it will be with the kingdom of my divine will. I called you as a second mother of mine, and one-on-one, just as I did with her in the kingdom of redemption. I manifested to you the many secrets of my divine fiat, the great good of it, and how it wants to come to reign upon earth. I can say that I have done everything, and if I called my minister so that you might open yourself in order to make it known, my intent was so that he would have interest in making known a good so great. And if this interest were not there on the part of those who should occupy themselves with it, they would put the kingdom of my will at risk of dying upon its rising, becoming, themselves, responsible for all the good that a kingdom so holy can bring. Or they would deserve that, putting them aside, I call others as proclaimers and propagators of the knowledges of my divine fiat. Until I find some who have interest and take to heart making known its knowledges, more than if it were their own lives, the kingdom of my will can have neither its beginning nor its life upon earth.
After this, I continued my abandonment in the divine fiat, and my highest good Jesus added,
My daughter, in creation it was my divine will that had its field of action, and although our divinity was concurrent, because we are inseparable from it, however, the prime act, the action, was all of our will. It spoke and it operated. It spoke and it ordered. We were the spectators of what our supreme volition was doing, with such great mastery, order, and harmony, that we felt worthily glorified and made twice as happy by our very will. Therefore, since creation is its work, the whole strength of creation and all the goods with which it was enriched are all in my supreme will. It is primary life of everything, and this is why it loves creation so much, because it feels its very life in all created things, and its very life flows in them. So much so that in creating man, wanting to make greater display of its power, of its love, and of its mastery, it wanted to enclose in him all the art of the whole creation. Not only this, but it wanted to surpass it, giving him such brushstrokes of divine art as to make him the little god, and laying itself inside and outside of him, to the right and to the left, above his head and under his feet. I carried him within my divine will as the outpouring of our love, and as the triumpher and admirer of its insuperable mastery. Therefore, it was the right of my divine fiat that man live only and always of divine will. What had it not done for him? It called him from nothing. It formed him. It gave him his being, and it gave him double life, the life of man and that of my divine will, in order to carry him always clasped in its creative arms, so as to preserve him beautiful, fresh, happy, just as it had created him. So when man sinned, my fiat felt itself being snatched of that life which it carried in its very womb. What was not its sorrow? It remained with the void in its womb of this son, for whom, with so much love, so as to keep him safe and happy, it had made room within its very life. And do you think that in redemption it was not my very divine will that incarnated itself in order to come to find the lost man? It was precisely it, because verbum means word, and our word is the fiat, which, just as in creation it spoke and created, in the same way in redemption wanted and incarnated itself. It was its empty womb that claimed this child who, with so much cruelty, had torn himself away. And what did this will of mine not do in redemption? But it is not yet content with what I did. It wants to fill its womb. It no longer wants to see man disfigured by sin, by dissimilarity from it, but it wants to see him adorned by the insignia of creation, adorned with its beauty and sanctity, and taking his place once again inside its divine womb. The fiat voluntas tua on earth, as it is in heaven, is precisely this, that man return into my divine will. And only when it sees again its child happy, living in its house with the opulence of its goods, then will it calm itself. And so it will be able to say, my child has come back, he is clothed with his royal garments, he wears the crown of king, he lives together with me, and I have given back to him the rights which I gave him in creating him. So the disorder in creation is ended, because man has come back into my divine will.